Hi, my name is Jules Coppola. I received my bachelor's in liberal arts, and I have a lot of different interests, but essentially, I'm from a family of therapists, and I grew up with therapy as a part of my lifestyle, and I just love the work and I love people. The reason that I became a therapist is essentially it's a part of my culture. I grew up in a family filled with therapists and psychiatrists. So I just continued the tradition. And of course, I have a deep love for people. And I especially love to walk with people through the most difficult times in their lives. So therapy, being a therapist enables me to do that. And that's feels like a part of my calling. So I'd have to say my favorite place is Sevron-Livry in Paris. Um, a huge part of my family is Parisian and lives in Paris, and I love to visit them at any opportunity that I get. So I've been really lucky in that I've had excellent clinical supervisors, and I had just really the most amazing professors that I think a person could hope for along the way, and a lot of mentors who really helped to instill in me not just sound clinical practice, but sound humanistic practice. And some of that training included I took some EMDR classes. Um, wow, what a powerful modality to just go in and help a patient's nervous system to process adverse experiences. I think some of the most powerful experiences that I've had have been some of the expressive arts trainings that I've taken. What really comes to mind is the psychodrama trainings and other expressive arts trainings too, but psychodrama in particular, because there's this piece of it where we take on the roles of other people in our lives, and that helps us to be able to see other people's perspectives, um, which really can be powerful. But there's also a spiritual piece to that. Um, Jacob Moreno, the founder of psychodrama, he also worked pretty heavily in sociometry. And sociometry helps us to kind of look at and understand why it is that we feel a connection with certain people and not others, or we feel like an aversion to certain people. And I think that most folks can relate to that piece, and it helps to sort of unpack some of the relationships and conflicts, even our inner conflicts in our relationship to ourselves. I do. I completed the Gottman Level 1 training, and it was really eye-opening because, you know, Gottman had some very interesting views about the things that constitute kryptonite, more or less, in a relationship. And so part of my theoretical orientation and part of the training is to help couples identify criticism and contempt and stonewalling. Um, I think often, often a lot of people don't understand the damage that can be done by, Gottman calls them the horsemen of the apocalypse. um, but in therapy, I think part of our work is to understand that the way we show up is not neutral. Typically, we're kind of either adding to safety and trust, or we're detracting from it. So I do have some specialties. Right now, my specialty is grief and trauma. And I especially work with sexualized trauma. Yes, so I received my UK professional counseling diplomas in Gestalt and psychodynamic therapy. However, my theoretical orientation currently is person centered theory, and I like to blend in a little bit of feminist theory and existential theory because I think that for all of us, it's essential to amend what our life purpose is and how various events sort of fit in to helping us construct a sense of purpose in life. So that's kind of an easy one for me because I am multiracial and I'm multicultural. So I grew up with this beautiful array of different cultures within a lot of different cultures. And so I I'm familiar with several different cultures, but also I think some clinicians they have some bias, and I've done a lot of work on my bias, but I think I also was lucky enough that just by virtue of the way that I grew up, um, I just I have a lot of acceptance and familiarity and love for different cultures, many different cultures, and just am a part myself of so many different cultures that there's just this comfort. And I used to live in California, and I marched for marriage equality against Prop 8 and sat down in the street with everybody else. I believe 100% in the dignity and the worth of every individual. And yes, I myself identify as a member of the LGBT community. Many members of my family identify as members of the LGBT community. And yes, I want you to know you will be safe with me. Yes. So the client tells me. Usually the client will say, "Hey, they start using the coping skills that we've instilled. They start seeing a reduction in distressing symptoms, and the focus of the work organically starts to shift. Um, it shifts away from the trauma to self-actualization, and often the focus shifts from how do I cope with whatever it is that's really been bothering me. It through the course of the work, it'll shift to how do I use this to help other people, and how do I use this experience to enrich my own life. Um, that's when it's like, okay, we've moved from A to B, or yeah. Oh, favorite TV show. I'm not much of a TV watcher. I'm more of a bookworm. But I think if I had to pick, it would be a Netflix show, and I think I'd pick Black Summer. That's the one, or is it Black Winter? I don't know. It's the one with the it's the one with the zombies. And there's two seasons of it, and I've seen both seasons, and it's just really it's fast paced, it's compelling, and the characters are driven by either a need to protect someone or a need to stay alive. And so I really love, I think it's called Black Summer. I love that show. Oh my goodness. Okay, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl would definitely be one. You put me on the spot here. I love Sylvia Plath, so The Bell Jar would be a second. And I think the third one would have to be Night by Elie Wiesel. So I don't like the word religious, and I don't identify as religion. I'm sorry, I don't identify as religious. And the reason is because when I think of something that's religious, I think of rules, I think of institutions, I think of politics. And that isn't my way of experiencing my spirituality. I have deep, 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 deep spiritual roots. I I have ties to several different communities, and each one has given me something very important, I think, that I bring to the work. Um, I have an openness in helping clients to explore their spirituality. Um, and I also feel like for many of us out here, our spiritual practices and our connection with our spiritual selves, it's core to our health. I feel for many, many people, we can't feel good if we don't feel connected to a higher power and to one another. So I integrate that very much in my work with clients who are open to it. My spiritual tradition shows up in a lot of different ways. I think it shows up in my choice to be a therapist. It's because I really do believe, and I mean on a deep, deep level, really do believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every living being. I believe very much in the inherent worth and dignity of every single client. Um, so I, some folks are, very clinical in their approach, and they use the old model, the model of disease, right, where you're sitting across from a person and you're wondering, what's wrong with that person, and that's not me. I am sitting across from a person and I'm asking myself, what happened to this person that has impacted them, and how can we, or how can I as a clinician use this relationship to heal that and help that client to be able to heal themselves from within. So you won't really get a disease model thing over here with me. The clients, so I have the most experience working with clients that have suffered horrific trauma. And I've worked with a lot of clients, for example, that were fleeing Syria. So clients that had lost their whole families in some pretty intense ways, and clients that were coping with the grief and loss of that. And I've also, the other population that I have a lot of experience with is individuals that have been trafficked, and both children and adults. So many reasons. So when I was looking for an internship site, I really wanted to find a site that kind of captured the soul of the things that I embody. And one of the things that I really loved about Lardy Wellness is you go on the website and you see over and over person-centered, person-centered, person-centered. And I love that Lardy Wellness was founded on similar ideals of like helping, people who are maybe immigrants or refugees or people fleeing, one country to come to another. And those, that's the population that I'm very familiar with. So I just felt like I would be a really good fit for Lardy, and Lardy would be a great fit for me. So my advice for people trying therapy for the first time, my advice I think would be a little unconventional. I would encourage people to trust themselves, listen to their intuition, also challenge themselves, as far as stepping a little bit outside of their comfort zones and really bringing their full selves into therapy and really allowing themselves to experience that unconditional positive regard and to really fully be present. Because I think if you kind of hold back your narrative, you may not reap all of the benefits, um, versus just bringing all of you, your whole self, into that therapy relationship, and knowing and trusting that you're going to be seen and heard and respected.